This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, April the 26th, 2022, episode 380. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can finally check me out on Twitter. We're back at Nicholas M. Craig. You can check me out there. You can also visit my website, nickcraig.com, or our website where you'll find this program each and every week, infectionpodcast.com. Joining me from the great state of Idaho with some technical issues today, Brian with an eye on. Brian, you just had to keep playing with it, didn't you?
I know. It was only a little bit bad at the beginning. But hey, at least we now know it's not the cable. It is the plug that the cable goes into. I'll decide if I want to bother opening it up. And I could use, I don't know, I have a heat gun.
That's what you need to do. Yeah, I think that's what I just watched a YouTube video on. So perfect. What's going on in your world?
I might end up doing that. Not too much. If you want to find me at Brian Knowledge on Gab, Parler, Getter, whatever else, and Voice to Computer on. I actually created an account again as well.
Oh, you're back. You're actually back on Twitter.
Back on the Freedom Network. Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes. I haven't tweeted anything. I'm following Elon Musk, so we'll see.
It's at boy? Is it on your website?
Voice to Computer.
Is it on your website, Bite of Tech?
Oh, I don't remember if it's on there anymore. I probably took it off.
You're gonna sit. It's not. So you're gonna sit here and plug your website that you haven't posted an article on since 2019, and you don't even have your updated social media.
I'm saying my Voice to Computer Twitter blog.
My point is, you promote this blog, and you talk about how it's got all your social media profiles, Brian, and it doesn't have your Twitter account. Yeah, except for that one, there hasn't been a post since April of 2019. It's been freaking 2 years.
It's been a busy couple of years.
It's been literally 3 years, almost to the date, since you posted something on there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and that's So someday maybe I'll post something to my blog.
Yeah, all right. So it's at Boise Computer.
Yes, at Brian Knowledge is taken by like a 50-something-year-old cheer dad. That is not me.
I'm gonna give him a follow. It'll be you in a couple of years.
Yeah, so that was kind of disappointing. I was going to see if that was available, and he's tweeting regularly.
I see that you have a furry that's following you by the looks of it.
Oh, well, you know how that goes. I haven't really done anything. I haven't browsed Twitter yet, since I've been back. But
there's an individual that we know that's following you that has a very provocative profile picture. So.
Okay. Well, hey, one thing I encourage you to do is go to our website. We've got infectionpodcast.com, and on the right-hand side, join our server on Discord, where we have a lot of different channels, ARC servers, politics channel. We have a place where if there's a topic you think we should be covering and we're not, jump into our server, and you can go post links, post articles, whatever it is, videos that you think we should be looking at, and we'll review those before the live show starts. If you want to watch the video form of the podcast, we have that up on the top where it's Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. And then the lower right-hand side, we have all the audio forms of the podcast. So however you want to do that, just remember the audio-only form is recorded after the fact, so you cannot watch that live or listen to it live. But if you are going to listen to it after the fact, I encourage you to go check out those show notes, because they will have articles and links for everything that we discussed during the show. So if you're going to listen, you could watch videos and kind of follow along as you listen, and that could be very helpful. If you want to support us, there is a support option in the menu, or infectionpodcast.com/support, and you have all Prime Gaming subs, Hubble Bundle, Amazon Prime, a lot of different ways to subscribe. So a lot of different ways you can support the show. And we'll be talking a little bit about PAX East today.
Yes, we will.
But conventions are starting back up.
Yeah, so before we get into anything, Brian, I think it only makes sense that we start off with Twitter and some of the ongoings there. Elon Musk spending, it's looking like it's going to work out to about $44 billion to purchase the platform. Yeah. What are your initial impressions and takeaways of that?
Well, I mean, it's a large amount of money, but if you look at what's happening behind the scenes, there's a lot. Twitter doesn't make a ton of money on advertising. I'm not sure exactly how they make their money other than for data collection. If you look at what happens during elections, people will rent the pipe to be able to see and predict what's getting ready to happen. Because they found that Twitter is actually one of the most accurate ways to predict what's going to happen in an event, because of you can tell what people are actually thinking in general on Twitter. Now that kind of quit working, and if you think that's their whole business plan, and then they attempted to cut out half of that market, how are you getting? They're kind of were destroying their own product. They're making it so their own product was inaccurate and useless, and they were doing it purely for politics, which shows you how crazy and just dedicated to the political side of it and not the company side of it they were. Well, they're a publicly traded company, which brought up some interesting developments with Musk, because he knows they're making decisions that aren't in the best interest of the shareholder, and he knew that they'd be willing to do that, and he kind of tested them. He put it out there, something that was guaranteed to be in the best interest of the shareholder, and they tried to prevent it because they didn't like the politics of the person making the offer, which shouldn't have anything to do with this.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because I think the idea and the notion that Elon Musk is either a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal or a conservative is the stupidest thing I've seen the past couple of days. He's neither of those things. He is he's an Elon Muskist, and he will do whatever best fits his interest for his businesses or his companies. And I don't think he doesn't really care what political party or what goes on politically. He just wants to, have successful businesses and operate them. So the idea that he is a crazy right-wing extremist or a crazy left-wing progressive is just stupid. There's no evidence to back any of that up. He was. I do
think he believes in freedom, though.
Well, he does believe in freedom.
He believes in freedom.
But you've got the left out here now claiming that Elon Musk is right-wing. He was the biggest supporter of Andrew Yang, a literal self-described socialist that ran in a New York gubernatorial race. So the idea that he is far right or far left is just retarded. And anybody that believes that is an idiot. With that being said, you're spot on, Brian. Twitter has a failing business model. They have been unable, unlike Facebook and Google and other tech platforms, they have been unable to capitalize user base into revenue. Their stock was at their stock in early March was at about $31.50, which was a 52-week low. The stock was at $60-$70 back in winter of last year, October, November of last year of 21. The stock was hanging around $65-$66 a share, and in March of 2022, it had dipped all the way down to sub $32 a share. So it was failing. And it's so funny because everything kind of all culminated in the last couple of days, because Twitter has an earnings report that is scheduled to come out Thursday. And I am convinced that the board of directors that was holding this up was told, if you don't do this acquisition prior to this Thursday earning reports, Twitter, as you know it, is over with. Because not only will the earnings report be a disaster, Elon Musk, after seeing that earnings report, is going to dump his 9.5% of the company, and that stock is going to plummet to probably sub-teens, if not lower than that. That's exactly what would have happened if they didn't make this deal. And now we have to wait and see if the Security and Exchange Commission or the FTC or anybody wants to step in and try and block this. It would be very interesting, because now you're seeing the revitalization of talking about Section 230 now. All of a sudden, the Democrats want to talk about, well, it's, there might be a platform, not a publisher, and, maybe we should have a conversation about this, because...
all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, exactly. One political party can control it and it's okay. The other, who, by the way, Elon Musk is, as I mentioned before, not a Republican, not a conservative, is just kind of a constitutionalist and very big on free speech. God forbid he gets control of it. So, been seeing a lot of people creating Twitter accounts, lots of, and even by looking at yours, Brian, I've got a couple follows in the past day from individuals all joined April 2022. So lots of folks coming right back to the old Twitterverse.
Because now I know that they will have no choice. They will have no choice but to allow everyone to speak if he says they have to allow everyone to speak, which is what he said he will do. The only reason I quit is they were worthless. And I'm not going to support someone who actively fights against what I believe, actively, and spits in my face and treated me, well, everybody, the way that they did during that. If anyone believed different than them, they would ban you and they would say all these horrible things. Yet you would have pedophiles and rapists and just killers, and everyone else can be on there. Terrorist organizations can be on there. You have foreign countries. The Ayatollah can be on there. I bet you Kim Jong-un could have a nice account on there if he would, use the internet. But, of course, Donald Trump couldn't because they're worried about what he would say. Not with the people who actually go and do it in real life. They're worried about what he would say. Not the people actually killing hundreds to thousands of people every year. Not the people raping kids and doing all these things. And monetization on YouTube, oh boy. But it's frustrating to think that all of that is acceptable in their eyes, but freedom of speech is not. And it's stupidity. It's just incredible stupidity. So I'm hoping this will finally cause it to where people can have an equal discourse. Because where on the internet can we have an equal discourse that the Democrats are willing to go?
Yeah.
There you go. You have the answer. They won't go to Rumble. They won't go to Gab. They won't go to all these places. But they will go to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all this stuff, all the other ones that are willing to infringe. YouTube, you can't find an interesting video half the time on YouTube anymore because they won't post anything that's actually recent news and controversial whatsoever. If it doesn't go with the main grain of, oh, we love these vaccines, look at how many people they're making sick, this is great. What else are we supposed to talk about? Oh, you're going to talk about how good the vaccines are? Because that's what you can't talk about. Oh, let's talk about how good they are. Oh, they don't work? Oh, well, let's keep talking about how good they are. Everybody make sure you get one. They don't prevent transmission. You don't prevent you from actually getting it, but let's get the vaccine. Why? And yet you were pushed and forced to say that on a platform when now it's fair, it's proven. Fact after everything that I've said, I can't find a single one of those things that I've said that hasn't been true. Because you know what? I don't have to guess because I'm dealing out of reality. I was speaking out of reality and I was basing it on the things I was seeing, not the things that they were saying. And amazingly, my batting average is 99%. I'm doing good. So some things maybe haven't come true, but the things that I pushed that they got pissed about ended up all being true. Who was the wrong one? You, but you're still banning people for saying the same thing, even though you're lying. And that's the stupidity of the whole thing. That's what frustrates me.
Well, yeah, obviously. And now that there's a potential that they'll lose control of this platform, all hell is breaking loose. So this is a long process. You're looking at least at the earliest, probably 8 months that anything is actually done. You're talking about 100% private equity buyout of a company, taking it private. He's got some pretty big backers, a whole bunch of Morgan Stanley, I think, is the chief executor behind the backing of it. Morgan Stanley is in there as well. So some other companies, but unless the federal government decides to screw Elon Musk out of it, which I wouldn't put past them because they use this machine just as much as everybody else. In the next,
they better hurry. They only got so much longer before they'll have any choices in this.
Yeah, so it looks like probably about a year until the full transition happens. But it looks like Elon Musk is going to purchase Twitter.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think we'll have a lame duck in a year to where whatever they're going to try to push will be laughed at. There will be nothing they can push anymore.
Yeah,
they're holding on to their last straws, and we'll see what happens. Okay, do you want to talk any more about that? I've got an interesting one that I've been saving for you. I thought you would find it fun.
I think I know. Go ahead. I think I know which one you saved for me.
Okay, well, where did I put it on here? Okay, so there is one where it's from GOG. Yeah, here we go. Just if you jump up one, CD Projekt Red, they're looking into this thing called menstrual leave. I'd never really heard of menstrual leave before, but they got the idea from GOG. Good Old Gaming, or is that what a Good Old Gaming is? That what it's called?
Well, apparently they were rebranding as Good Old Gaming, going back to their roots. Apparently.
All right, so on their LinkedIn, they made a nice little announcement talking about how they're offering something called menstrual leave. And you mind if I read this to you?
No, please, Brian. Please be my guest.
All right. So this is the GOG's announcement of this. We're happy to announce that effective today, we're implementing menstrual leave for all menstruating employees of GOG. Menstrual leave fosters inclusiveness by accepting that there are biological differences in the workplace. Whoa. Wait, what?
No!
Hate speech? Oh!
God.
By giving additional days off
Brian,
for those
please
experiencing
stop.
menstrual period pain. Wait, are you telling me all women are experiencing menstrual period pain? I didn't know this. This is new. This goes against the science that I've been taught on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Because I didn't think all women can menstruate. Right?
You're starting to sound like
I'm getting real confused.
You're starting to sound like Randy from South Park.
Biological, and my whole brain, because I'm not a scientist or biologist, remember, I don't even know what happened. I mean, I'm so lost in the middle of this. I thought menstruating employees fostering inclusiveness, but they're talking about biology. So by giving additional days off for those experiencing menstrual period pain, we acknowledge these symptoms are real. So this is instead of saying women in our company can have, menstrual time off. They cannot say that, because what would happen if they said that?
It's sexist.
Well, they would say, not all women can have menstruation.
Oh,
That's
well,
what they'll
true.
say.
I mean, true.
Okay, so what do they have to say? Okay, well, all menstruating employees. So we have to go to the biology of what's actually happening to determine whether or not they are now called a menstruating person, because we can't say a menstruating woman or man. You have to say a menstruating person, because now all of a sudden we have men that are able to menstruate. I mean, according to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the other places up until now. And now, but we can also have women that can menstruate, but we also have men that cannot menstruate, and we also have women that cannot menstruate. So they can't give a policy with what they have to say menstruating employees now. So that people that are trans can't just say, well, I'm taking days off because I am menstruating. Right, you're menstruating. Well, you can't tell them they're not, because if you tell them they're not a woman because we don't understand biology, then you will be kicked off of every platform. This is the stupidest thing. I have to think, sure, give women menstruating days off if it helps. Makes more peace in the workplace. Whatever happens.
I actually completely disagree with that statement, but go ahead.
I'm saying if a company, this is in a free market, wants to do that, let them do that. But the fact that they have to prance around that so heavily, and they can't just say for the females in our company that want to take days off for menstruating, the fact that they cannot say that because they've backed themselves into such a corner is just so silly. And that shows you where we're at. I mean, and then CD Projekt Red, they saw that and they're like, I think this is great. They get to take days off whenever period pains occur, even though they're probably working from home. You can take those days off. Well, what do men get? I mean, we get. What do we get that they don't get?
I'm really well. According to that, you get 30% more pay or whatever bullshit.
Not anymore. That's been reversed. That's actually, they've found that men now make less than women in the same position.
I don't believe you. So I'm just going to disagree with you. So no, that's not true.
Look what happens when you start using Twitter again.
Yeah, well, exactly, Brian. Yeah, exactly. You're on Twitter one day and you're already falling for nonsensical fake news bullshit. So yeah, I mean, it's again, you're just these are companies that, well, CD Projekt Red is a game developer. GOG is apparently going back to their roots, as they claimed just a few weeks ago. Hey, we're going back to what we were in the 90s and early 2000s. And they can't even say the word woman in a post, and
actually be able to say what that is, because you say woman, that does not say what all that you can't even describe a person and anything about them physically by using the word woman anymore, other than they're human. They are human. You've got that. but you can't describe you can't describe a single thing about a person saying the word woman and guarantee what you're going to get. You cannot.
I found this
scary.
I just found this is just one of the interesting posts I found as a comment on here. It says, as a woman, and by looking at her LinkedIn profile, she does appear to actually be a woman. She says, as a woman, I 100% dislike this, and I think this is walking backwards instead of forward. This will make any hiring manager feel uneasy to hire a woman more than they already are. This is why I'm 100% in favor of same-time parental leave for both parents, for example. Bada bada ba. Menstrual leave is ridiculous and puts us back several decades. Well, I think there's some valid points there. Now, CD Projekt Red said, oh, yes, they will be paid wages for days that they are not working. So no problem there. But so the company is going to pay you to work even though you're not working, so you're not being productive, meaning you're not hitting your deadlines. Well, that's going to be a problem. So, I mean, you're essentially saying, are you essentially saying that an employee is going to take 3 or 4 days off every month? Because that's kind of what this is going to break down to. I mean, Brian, I'm no expert, obviously, as a bigoted man. I have no idea. But from what I understand about the reproductive cycle of a woman, this happens on about a monthly basis and can last anywhere between about 3 and 5, and lasts severely for about 3 to 5 days. Is that what you understand? Also, understanding you're
yeah, but the thing is, well, you'd have to see the kind of whether or not they're how long are they giving them? 3 days? You said?
I don't know.
I mean, because they could give them a whole week. I don't. It depends.
That's what I'm saying.
How some women are different. Some may be feeling them longer. They're saying while you're feeling pain. What if someone's feeling the pain is 2 weeks out of a month?
So what I'm saying is, let's just assume 5 days. So you're telling me every 3 weeks somebody is going to have an entire week off? This is going to kill a company's productivity.
Why would you hire a woman after? A menstruating employee after this? Sorry, I almost said something bad. my wife is laughing. I didn't mean to say woman. I'm sorry. Menstruating person. Don't want to be non-inclusive.
And I think that's exactly the point that one LinkedIn person made, is that you're now going to lose. You've already got, and okay, so now let's transition this into CD Projekt Red and actual video games here. You've got a company in CD Projekt Red who is already unable to meet any of the deadlines that they have. They just canned the Witcher 3 next gen update because, God forbid, they actually get something done. It took them over a year to get the Cyberpunk, really the 1.0 patch out. This company is now going to start just indiscriminately giving away weeks off at a time to employees. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
I know. Well, okay, so the problem is these companies, especially in a time right now where I think all these companies got to be struggling. First of all, they're struggling to find people that actually want to work because they're getting so much money from the government right now. And then, getting people to work, and then the restrictions of all the COVID things and everything else that's been put on. Making a profit right now is difficult. And then you toss this kind of stuff in there, it's going to make it more difficult. And then you're saying, okay, well, we're giving all this extra benefit because they are menstruating persons, and how you can't afford to keep doing it.
Well, and I think, and again, you want to have a conversation about days off for menstruation, I don't care. That's not this show. But let's just talk about the legitimacy of a company that is already failing to meet guidelines and failing and struggling. What do they do?
Because for me, in my job, taking a week off is difficult. Like, that would be difficult. And doing that every month, I wouldn't be expected to hold the same position and to be expected to be looked at for certain positions or things like that if I were taking 1/4 of the month off every month. But then you're going to say, well, they need equal pay. You taking a week off is way more than your equal pay. The fact that you get to not come to work for a week you're making more than I am by 1/4 of your paycheck. I have to go to work to make that money. I can't. They could go get a side job and work that week and make extra money. Talking about extra money, that give me a reason to not show up for a week every month, and I'll go do something else for that week, and I'll make some more money.
Yeah, I'll go home. I'll play the Witcher 3 next gen update that didn't come out.
They're acting like it's being sick. There's no way that you can't go to work the whole time that you're having your cycle. I
just.
I mean, I'm not a menstruating person, but my wife.
Here's the thing, though, Brian. You very well can be.
I mean, I could. I don't know. I feel like they're really restricting me because I just don't know how I could become a menstruating person. If I could find the path,
say it.
I could just identify as a menstruating person. Give me my time off.
Yeah, problems.
Because you cannot tell me what I identify or don't identify as. You're not a biologist.
Yeah, well, then they'll just find a reason to fire you for cause. So yeah, that's what's going on over at GOG, and might be coming to CD Projekt Red. So if your hopes were for more CD Projekt Red deadlines to be met, I have a strong suspicion you will be incredibly dissatisfied with how that goes. Speaking of lunacy, Brian, let's talk about PAX East. We didn't go to PAX East this year because they've got a ridiculous, not only a vaccine mandate, but they also have a masking requirement. So let's play this out. Vaccine mandate, meaning everybody has to prove vaccination.
Everybody's been vaccinated before they get there.
And everybody is wearing a mask. So that is, I mean, Brian, that's protection.
I mean, that's 99.9999% protection.
That's equivalent to me. That's equivalent to abstinence with sex, right? You're abstinent. You can't get COVID. Well, that's not the case because there were multiple exposures, including 3 individuals from one group that all tested positive for COVID-19 after PAX East 2022. This was just one company known as Pandemonium Books and Games. They posted that 3 of their employees and customers confirmed positive for COVID on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday of the week of the event, where they had a booth at the convention. So, vaccine mandate, mask requirement, still getting COVID-19.
Okay, if birth control was as effective as the COVID vaccine, do you think people would be this patient and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to argue. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep taking this birth control, even though everybody keeps having babies. It's proven that it's 99.9999% ineffective against preventing child, getting pregnant. But still, you're supposed to keep getting it. And don't tell anybody they can't get it, or else you'll get kicked off all the platforms, or shouldn't get it. But of course, you'll keep taking that birth control because it's not effective. But keep taking it. People would say, "Well, why would I take it then?" But they don't say, "Why am I getting this vaccine?" It's not effective. This one we know doesn't work, but keep taking it. My dad personally is dealing with a lot of complications from the COVID vaccine, so I'm a little pissed about the whole thing because if they take my dad because they forced him to get a vaccine to be able to go do what he had to do to get his medical treatments, I'm going to be pissed. And the fact that the hospitals now refuse to investigate all the symptoms that he's been having that happen to match up with all these other people that got the same kind of vaccine, yet they refuse to do it because they don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Shame on you, idiots. Shame on you, idiots, who sit there and push something, yet you will not face the facts and man up enough to look them in the eye when you were wrong and say, "You know what? That was a mistake. Let's see what we can do to make it better." You won't even step down enough to say, "I made a mistake," and you'll let people die left and right. Shame on you. You doctors should step down because you have failed this system. I'm sick and tired of all this crap on YouTube, what was on Twitter, all this stuff on Facebook where you can't say, "Hey, you know what? When people after they take these the Pfizer vaccine have tons of problems. My dad's going through those problems that have started the day he got his vaccine." And you're telling me, not you, Nick. I'm not yelling at you.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that that it's safe. You're supposed to keep doing it. Trust the science is what I keep hearing. I'm looking at the science, and you guys have left it. You've turned your back on the science, and you quit looking. It's truly disgusting, and it shows me that politics have made it to where people are willing to kill each other. And look, North Korea is a perfect example of that. China is a perfect example of that. Look through history at all the times when politics let people kill each other, and all of a sudden politics, people are fine with people dying around them. Oh, it's fine. They didn't believe as well as I do about this. oh, they weren't a good comrade, a good citizen. They did go get their vaccines in the way that I got my vaccines. No, my dad did go get his vaccines like you did. And guess what? It's hurting him. It makes me pissed. And someone who was perfectly healthy beforehand, and you turn around and say, oh, you have to get the COVID vaccine or else you won't get, medical treatment. You can't go get this surgery. You can't do that. Shame on you guys. You're killing people left and right, and yet you will continue to stand behind science while you say that, oh, I'm not a biologist. I can't even say whether or not a menstruating person is a female.
Brian, I can't really argue with anything that you're saying.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm speaking facts and science. It just hurts, because that if the wrong person hears this, they'll have a heart attack. Person with if they have a heart. I mean, we want to assume everybody has all these parts.
Yeah. So speaking of facts and science, do you think that if in fact more of these cases come out from PAX, that we will see these, maybe these companies deciding to revert some of these restrictions, or are they just going to double and triple down? I'm not sure if you saw today, Brian.
How about the statistics that people that have the vaccine are more likely to transmit the virus than people that are not? How about that?
Yeah,
how about you say people with vaccine can't come to these conventions, and guess what? You'll probably have less outbreaks.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm not going to argue that with you. The point is they don't care about that. But I'm saying, do you think that
the science doesn't matter in the end to them?
No,
they'll say
you're right.
Trust the science, but they don't care about it.
Exactly. But do you think at a certain point that we will see the transition here from this at these conventions, knowing that damn well they don't work?
I think next year you're going to start seeing so many changes that people will feel foolish if they do this kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now, people have used psychology and pressure. You know what? I've stood against the grain enough times in my life against people that don't agree with me, and I don't care because I'm unwilling to turn my back just to feel like everybody. Oh, look, he's one of us. I don't care if I'm one of you. I'd rather be right, and when I say right, correct. I'd rather be the one who was honest, the one who was true, the one who said the thing that was accurate. That if I'm saying it because I want you to see the truth too, and I'm trying to help you, rather than the people that sit here and lie and try to say stuff just because, they're worried that their political party won't be in power anymore. If you're willing to kill people because you're worried about your political party not being in power anymore, you are a problem. Think about it. You are a problem, and you are not a good person. And if you think that everyone else around you is not a good person because they're living their life in their own way, how about you? You can go sit in your house and not come out of it. If you're telling everybody to do it, how about if you stay inside? Are you going to get the COVID if you stay inside your own house like you're telling everyone else to do? How about we have a little bit of freedom as an accepted policy and let people go take their own risks? If you go out in public, guess what? Just like in the cold and the flu days, you're taking a risk of getting a cold or a flu. Back when they had colds and flus, it's amazing how those things disappeared. At what point, right? At what point are we going to keep on lying? And because I tell my boys, we tell them all the time, when you see that the emperor has no clothes, don't be afraid to point it out. Even if people say, what are you talking about? If you see that emperor's naked, say it. Don't be afraid to not say it. Because just because they're scared to say anything, perhaps you being willing to actually tell the truth for once will make them stand up and not be scared anymore. Because sometimes it takes a man, not biologically, but mentally. Because there's women that are the same way. My wife's like this. It takes someone who's actually willing to sit up and say, you know what? I'm not going to lie with you on something, and that's why I got off Twitter, because I was unwilling to lie anymore. The only way I could say certain things if I was willing to lie about it, and I'm unwilling to lie. I'm not going to go on a platform and lie. And so there's people that will lie all day. I mean, go look at Saki. Look at half the stuff she says. She knows she's lying. She'll lie to your face and twist it, or she'll refuse to answer a question because she doesn't want to say a lie on camera. There's people in this world that do not care. You know what? I do care. And so things like this, when you see, oh, look, this is happening at the convention. Okay, well, here's how, if you're willing to accept the truth, here's how you could deal with it. How can you go into board meeting with these companies and these organizations and actually have a conversation about the problem? How can you talk about how are we going to deal with COVID and make it so that people are less likely to get it at our events? When you're unwilling to look at the actual facts of the situation, like, people with the COVID vaccine still catch COVID. They still transmit COVID. masks are not truly effective. I have someone who vapes blow out while their mask is on, and you tell me how effective that is. If you see a single bit of smoke, then that tells you that the mask was ineffective. A single bit of smoke, because those particles are bigger than the COVID vaccine, and you're telling me to wear that mask? The truth. The emperor has no clothes, and they're telling us to not say it. At what point do you just say, all right, I'm not going to participate? If I can't stand here and say, I don't want to look at this naked person up here anymore, I'd rather go home. I should have the right to do that. I don't have to look at the naked person and pretend that they're wearing clothes.
So now we wait and see if there will be a change, maybe before PAX West or some of these other shows. But we'll have the link in that on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right, Brian, let's move over to some video game talk here.
Video game news, yes.
So we've seen the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft.
Yep.
We've seen the acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft. Mm-hmm. We've seen Bungie get acquired by Sony. There's been a lot of these companies that have been acquired, and that leaves just a few kind of dogs left in here. EA and Ubisoft and Rockstar are about the three.
I'd be surprised unless some stuff in the future is really bad. It's pretty surprised if they'd be okay.
So those are kind of the three that are left that aren't owned by either Microsoft or Sony at this point. But there's an article over here at PC Gamer headlined several private equity firms might be interested in buying Ubisoft. And the report came from Bloomberg. And it just talked about how several private equity firms have been studying Ubisoft's French business model, because it is a French company. And Ubisoft hasn't entered into any serious negotiations yet, and it's unclear whether its major shareholders would be willing to pursue a deal. But they have apparently been shedding employees at a pretty staggering rate. They have the same issues that all of these other development firms are dealing with. People constantly bitching about not wanting to work and, oh my God, you have a deadline and I have to meet this deadline, so I might have to work extra hours a week because, that's what it's like working in a team and having a deadline. Just this nonsensical horse shit from these individuals that work in video game development. Again, like every other business, you have deadlines. Like, for example, Brian, I'm going to let you know this, inside knowledge here. My parents are visiting this weekend, so I'm taking Monday off from work. Guess what I have to do? Take a guess.
Work. You have to work a little extra this week to get your show prepped so you can not go in on Monday.
Whoa. That is, you hit it right on the head, my friend.
I'm on a deadline right now with work. Well, as far as we have something that tomorrow we're looking at going into testing. So by tomorrow night, I have to have my code passing a certain level of test. So I've been working extra for the past week. You know what you should do?
You should go on Twitter. You should change your name and put go to one of those gamer, one of the gamer union places and grab all of the pictures.
ABK or whatever it is.
Yeah. Grab all of the hearts and bullshit they have in their name on Twitter and copy that in, and then you should ask to start a union.
Make it a hand like this.
Yeah. There you go. You can do that. So Ubisoft is dealing with the same issues that all these other developers are dealing with. Typically, and I will just say this, when you have a private equity group that purchases a company, a private equity group, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, is looking to just make a return on their investment, and that's it. Yep. That's why they are known as a private equity firm or a private capital firm. They don't necessarily care about the business itself. They care about money. That's how private entity firms work. So this probably isn't the best direction for Ubisoft in terms of them getting back to any semblance of normalcy with video game development. But this might be the way that things go if somebody that doesn't have a video game oriented mind jumps in. And some of these private equity firms, Brian, they own the second they buy this company, they're already looking to shop it and sell it off again, and just try to get as good quickest return that they can on their money.
I would be surprised if Microsoft doesn't jump in for this, though. Because
I don't think
one
Microsoft
thing,
wants Ubisoft. Why? I don't think
yeah,
they
but
have anything
there's
worth
some
having.
games that I could just see them. Just Dance.
I don't
I
think
mean,
people.
there's
When was the
some,
last Just Dance that came out? Has there been a recent Just
but I'm
Dance?
saying that's a stupid intro video, isn't it? For all of those,
Yeah, you're right. I'm just.
That's
Let
like
me
their
look.
biggest thing they push. Now,
When is the
Ubisoft
last?
is shutting down online. Do you see that online services for 90 older games? So they're
No. What are
definitely
they shutting
leaning
down?
out. So they're shutting down the online services for like Rainbow Six Vegas, Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory,
Oh, damn
some of
it!
their Just Dance titles, Anno 2070, Assassin's Creed 2, 3, Brotherhood, Driver San Francisco, Far Cry 3, Silent Hunter 5, Splinter Cell Blacklist. Um, then there were some other ones as well. So they're definitely figuring out ways to lean out the company, which would make sense if they're trying to make it like their expenses are low, right now to get purchased. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something coming up here soon, because it seems like they're really hesitating on putting out. There's been a number of leaks. They announced a new project, I think today or this past week, about a game coming out, but that's all you've really heard for a while. It seems like they've been pretty quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that anybody. I don't know why. Obviously, you can look at Assassin's Creed. That's probably the biggest IP that Ubisoft has available under their moniker of titles. But outside of Assassin's Creed and maybe the Far Cry series, which let's be clear, they're large games. They don't have the following that they once did, or necessarily the support that they once did. But if I'm Microsoft, Brian, I don't think Ubisoft has any technology that I need. Microsoft, I'm sure, has got, and Sony probably has got all of the tech and better tech than Ubisoft has to offer. So it's not like you're acquiring them for technology. Their workforce, they're probably just a whiny bunch of idiots that have been complaining about it's tough to work at a company that has deadlines. So you're not getting anything useful there. You're essentially buying the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry IPs. How much is that worth for Microsoft? I don't think it's worth a whole hell of a lot.
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing, is if it's up for sale and the price is right, I just don't see why.
Well, that's the thing, is I think that the right price for Microsoft versus the right price for a private equity firm are two very different numbers, because even if a private equity firm purchases it, Microsoft still benefits from Ubisoft. There's still license fees that they charge. They still get a cut of every game that's sold. So it's not like Microsoft loses out completely, and that's why I'm saying I'm not sure. Unlike Bethesda, unlike Activision Blizzard, where there's so much more to it than just the IPs, or in the case of Blizzard, stronger IPs. I'm not sure that Ubisoft is. I don't know. I don't know why Microsoft would want it. Sony's probably more in the ballpark for it because they're so far behind the 8 ball.
And they're just looking for anything they can get exclusive.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's kind of what they did. I think they way overpaid for Bungie, but they did it anyway just to kind of give the middle finger to Microsoft and go, hey, look, well, even though Bungie doesn't do Halo anymore, 343 Studios does. Look, we got the group that made Halo. Ha ha ha. Nobody, people. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting though.
Now let's talk about Microsoft here for a minute, because right along that line, there's a Xbox job ad that came out, and they're suggesting that they're still seeking to purchase companies. So there was a job role this weekend that they published that indicates that, for instance, the gaming strategy and development team serves as the corporate strategy function for Team Xbox. We partner closely with the gaming leadership team to identify and evaluate transformative growth opportunities. Our charter includes helping to answer Microsoft's gaming's most challenging business questions, leading gaming's, finding where they can, and a lot of this are taking this as finding strategic purchases and things like that to be able to get either technology or to get better IPs, things like that. And so, I think personally that this is going to be their strategy. Because there's so many companies that are struggling right now. They're struggling to get developers, which is probably killing them in meeting deadlines, which is probably killing them on their what they're making for the whole company for the year. This is the perfect time for them to come in while their business model hasn't been affected that much, and actually COVID and the working from home for Microsoft has helped it out and made it even stronger. Yeah. So I think personally that, for them, they're just going to continue purchasing these companies that are currently valued low just because of the struggles they're going to, because they know that's all temporary. I personally think a lot of this stuff next year isn't going to be thought. It's just going to, people will finally be willing to say the emperor has no clothes, and they'll move on a little bit. But for now, these companies are dealing with all this and all the politics that are just causing chaos. And I think that it's a good opportunity for them to go and find and purchase these studios. Now, whether or not it's the best thing in the long run, I can't, give you the answer for that. But I do think that this is a smart move for them to be doing.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at what eventually Microsoft and Sony will offer, and you have covered this now for years, Brian, they are not going to be in the console or the hardware market. They're going to be in the, probably in one way, shape, or form, the game delivery market. That's kind of what they are going to be into. So to own the games that are as part of your game delivery market, kind of, some would make the argument it's a monopoly. But from Microsoft's vantage point, Microsoft's standpoint, it just gives them control over it and gives them exclusivity, which is how they're going to try and beat out their competition, whoever it might be, Sony, Nintendo,
it's going to be services like Netflix. Netflix is a service, and what they tried to do was to get all these exclusives to keep people on there. Now the problem is the price of their service got so high, and
$19 a month.
They were falling into the politics of everything and just not making the best decisions and not being very equal with what's on their platform. And now they're struggling. Their stocks have tanked. They're having a lot of issues. Well, what they can learn is, how about you just get the games that people enjoy and you quit pushing things into it, which I feel Microsoft has been, for the most part, has been doing. I don't hear much about Microsoft interjecting into their games. I think they've learned they just need to kind of stay somewhat level-headed, and guess what? They'll last out this whole storm. Where these other ones are jumping in with both feet and breaking their legs, and they're not understanding why.
I love that analogy, jumping in with both feet and breaking their legs. I like that. And I think you can give.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, and it makes it's a perfect analogy, and I think you can give a lot of credit of this to Major Nelson, Brian, who has been at the helm of the Xbox division of Microsoft for the past decade, if not more. Who, just seems to really be, you can follow him on Twitter, is incredibly focused on what? Video games. Not political bullshit, nothing else. Video games and the direction and the decisions that Xbox is making inside of Microsoft. And Microsoft has benefited handsomely because of it.
Yep. And hopefully they continue. Show that as an example. When you don't play one side of the party, you don't sit there and try to, manipulate people and get them to view your political view. I think people will start appreciating that more and more, and get to the point where they say, okay, this is normal. I don't want, you as a company shouldn't be telling me what I need to think politically. That's none of your business. How about you just sell me a product and keep to your lane, keep to what you do. Microsoft's been doing that, and guess what? They're becoming the most successful. The companies that really dove into politics and did a ton of diversity hiring, it's coming back to bite them, because they've got so many political issues now inside of their company, because they've catered to politics in their company, are now being sold, or that can't keep a workforce, that can't keep scandal out of their company. Those companies are tanking. Yet the ones who said, we'll stay out of the politics, seem to be doing just fine. Okay, the emperor has no clothes. How about you guys just take a second look, take off the sunglasses that they gave you and oh wait, they're painted. Take a look, open your eyes, quit looking at the dirt. So it's just so stupid.
Well, so speaking of Microsoft and some of their acquisitions, there are some dates coming up for one of the companies that they acquired that includes Bethesda, and the Bethesda launcher is officially shutting down on May 11th. So you've got at this point just over 2 weeks to be able to get everything out. And you've only got, it'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow. You'll be able to transfer your games, your wallet and most of your saves to Steam starting tomorrow, April the 27th. According to a blog post from them, they say if you don't have games through the Bethesda.net launch, or excuse me, if you have games through the Bethesda.net launcher, don't worry. Starting April the 27th, you'll be able to migrate your games and your wallet to your Steam account. They will have detailed instructions on that. They're saying that most of it will be done automatically, but for things and saves that can't be done automatically, they will have a guide and a written up guide for the manual process of copying the relevant save folders from one location to the other. I would imagine this has been an incredible amount of work to how they're going to handle these purchases from, because they had to have penned a deal with Steam, right? Because these games weren't purchased on Steam, unless Microsoft is buying new copies of the game for people.
No, I mean they must have worked out something, because I've seen them kind of do this with
Was it
I've
EA
seen this happen with another game. Destiny did this. Remember, Destiny 2 did this, and when it was on a special launcher, and then they started making it available on Steam and all these other places.
But wasn't Destiny free?
No, yes, but you had purchases of DLCs.
Well, that makes sense though, because that's happening. That makes a little bit more sense, because the DLCs are on a but I guess the DLCs are purchased through Steam.
But they were tied to a platform, and so they were able to transfer those. I went in on my Bethesda account. I have all my various platforms linked there. So I would assume that they're kind of going to do this automatically. They have my Steam account, but I don't know what else they're going to need. I'll have to check it out. I don't have a ton of games on the launcher, but I do know I have a few.
Yeah, I've got a few on there as well. For some reason, though, if you go to Bethesda.net, they still have their launcher on the homepage.
You can download it,
It's not that you can download it. They're literally advertising you to download it, which to me doesn't seem to make any sense. So it'll be. I'm curious what the details are on this, and I'll go through. And I think I've got a couple of games like Fallout 76 on there that I'll transfer over to Steam. So we'll see how the process goes. But this is part of the acquisition and part of the process that is going on. It has to go on because that's what Microsoft kind of that's kind of what they signed up for when they decided to purchase these companies.
Yep. And so this is part of it. We'll see how smoothly it goes. I'll try to do it tomorrow, and we'll see if it actually works.
Yeah. Speaking of other companies that Microsoft is in the process of acquiring, of course, Activision Blizzard is one of the big ones. And this has kind of made its way around the past day or so about a drop in 50 million monthly active users compared to last year. And this is dealing with a huge loss in games, active player bases in games like Call of Duty Warzone and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this comes down to just
games
first
get
of all,
old,
there's
Brian.
been a lot. Games get old. There's been a lot of controversy with Activision Blizzard, and then just the back and forth, and plus all the negative press. I mean, look at all the negative press. What they did? One thing that happened here recently is the Raven Software part of it. They got the green light to vote for that union. So the National Labor Relations Board is going to vote whether or not they get a union there. We'll see how that helps them. But yes, they have lost 50 million active users. It's crazy.
Yeah, and again, I don't think this is necessarily
Which is a third. You said a third of the overall.
I don't think it's a third of their overall.
So if you look, this says 150. Is that 150 million? So there's 150 for Activision.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right.
That's
you're right.
One year.
Yeah, no,
they've
gone
down to 1/3. They've lost 1/3 of their users.
But here's the thing, and I'll equate this to similar to the Netflix story that we talked a little bit about last week, and I've covered in other products that I produce, podcasts and the radio show and whatnot. You can't ride on those successes forever. I mean, Netflix had 11 straight years worth of quarters, 4 quarters a year for 11 years in which they produced good and resulting good earnings and an increase in audience and user base. That cannot go on forever. And then you're looking at Warzone right now. Brian, you're talking about a game that is at least 3 years old at this point. Yes, they've done new maps. Yes, they've done updates, but it's still a 3-year-old game. The most recent Call of Duty, multiplayer-wise, has not had the support that prior games have had. This makes perfect sense. And it's not like they went from 150 million players in December to 100 in March. Over a year-long period, they went from 150. They went from, again, I'll pull up the chart here, 150 to 127 to 119 to 107 to 100. This makes sense. This is not surprising.
Ago, one of the games was more recent, right? What came out a little after over a year ago that you're going to have a big boost to those
Call
players.
of Duty.
Yep. So that is a natural kind of slide. Of course, show the year to year. They show this year from last year, but how about we see a graph over time to see with releases, how often does that go up? 1/3 of the player base comes back for a new release, and then they go away when they're tired of playing it. And when the next release comes out, they come back.
But see, and if we had those numbers, and I'm sure they're somewhere, I just don't know what they're called, and Warzone has had a higher retention policy than a traditional game. A traditional Call of Duty has about call it a 3-month or so retention policy, where you get people that buy the game in November, whenever it comes out, they play it until the new year. They're playing day in and day out until the new year, and then they kind of slowly cut back their habits and then drop off. That's kind of been the typical retention for a Call of Duty game. Warzone has been out for multiple years now and has continued and still does. And this is not all 100 million players are not all playing Warzone, but I'm sure as hell confident it's a good majority of them. It still is pulling probably at least 80 million monthly active users. That's still impressive for a 3-year-old game. But while the headline might want to pin it as, Call of Duty's dropping a user base, of course, it's an old game. People have moved on. You can only play the same thing over and over again before you say, you know what, maybe I'll find something new to play. Warzone 2 is expected to come out sometime next year. So there's going to be a new game that's coming up, but Warzone has literally been out since 2019.
Yeah.
So to me, this is not surprising. Plus, Vanguard was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, and it was that other one that was it 2042. There's another one that I just have heard a lot of negative.
Cyberpunk
somebody was talking about.
I don't know about it.
No, there's another one, the Battlefield 2042. I've heard a lot of bad things about.
That's EA.
Oh, that's EA. Sorry, I was thinking Call of Duty, but I think that the people are getting tired of that whole genre, though. And as far as this, they've been repeating, especially in Call of Duty. They found there are ones that worked. You can only cycle those ones in so much, and then they try something different. People don't like it, and then then they cycle the other one, and it's like, everybody's happy again. Well, people are realizing that cycle is happening. They do the same game, and then they'll do something different. People say, we hate that. Then they'll do the same game and say, oh, yes, we like this one. Oh, then they'll do something different. And then they come back, oh, we like this one. Well, eventually people are going to be tired of the every other, kind of like they were with Microsoft Windows. Well, they don't want the every other just being a pile.
Well, and unfortunately, and I think you just touched on it pretty well, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because you release the same game with the same strategy every year. This is boring. This is the same thing. Why are you charging me? You try and switch it up every year, every 2 years, and why are you changing it? It works so well. It's like, shit, what do you want me to do? Like, you want the same product every year?
They need to make an online subscription, something where they take a small amount of money.
That's what Warzone was. Warzone was a game that has been out for 3 years, and they've just released new maps and new weapons and continued it going. This is exactly what Call of Duty is needed, and of course it's going to have a trailing off user base. It's not a current game.
Yeah.
I just don't see this as a big deal.
Doing. Yeah, look at what GTA and a lot of these other ones, they're going to an always online version of the game that gets updated, kind of like what Microsoft is doing with Windows. They're doing with video games because they're realizing people don't want to do the back and forth anymore, especially if it's not that different of a game. Well, don't make a different game. Just make seasons and all these different things to where people are kind of getting a new game, but it's still the same game. Sell them things in the game, sell them some sort of a season pass, and you'll make more money in the end without having to make them go out, get another video game that then they turn around and quit playing the old one.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. All right. We are about out of time here, Brian. Anything else you want to quickly highlight before we bounce out of here?
No, I'm good. We'll cover the rest of the things next week. If you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, whatever else, you can follow me on Twitter at Boise Computer. I don't have anything posted yet. We're good. But if you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, make sure you go to the right-hand side and join our server on Discord, especially if you think there's a topic that we are not covering, or maybe you want to give some input on a topic. You can do that inside Discord and get a hold of us. We have Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive, where you can watch the live form of the show or after the fact, and then all the podcast forms at the lower right. A lot of different ways that you can do that, and they are all free to use. If you're going to listen, I encourage you to go to the episode and follow along in the show notes, where we've got links for videos, articles. We've got a built-in video and audio player right there, and it'll really help you if you're not able to see what's on the screen. If you want to support us, make sure you go to infectionpodcast.com/support or support option up top, where we've got a lot of different ways that you can support us, and we appreciate everyone that has through all the years. So it's been very nice.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate your support. Brian, thanks for everything as always, and we will we'll be back next Tuesday, Lord willing, with another episode, all right?
Yeah, sounds good. See you.
Thanks. As Brian mentioned, of course, our website is infectionpodcast.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I've been on there just the whole time, just not been super active, and I might or might not pick up using it more. I've always used it. It's just kind of I use it more as a reader than a poster. You can follow me over there at Nicholas M. Craig. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes, links, posts, all the things that we talked about. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.